Hey, 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 hey. Hey, everybody. It's Miss Tonya. How you doing? It's noontime. Yes, it is. It's noontime, my time. It is that my time, that time that we are taking, taking back, reclaiming. Y'all know what Auntie told us? We need to reclaim our time. That's what we're doing. Mm-hmm. We're going to take a moment and we're going to do some breath work. We're going to have a little chat, just kind of get ourselves in a mood, get ourselves in a type of feeling. You dig? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I know you guys heard the entry music. I always want to give props out to creative artists. Give some shouts out to Cornelius. The podcast has started, but as you see here on the screen, the music is by Cornelius. Yeah, real cool guy. So if you need some music, go ahead and look him up. All right. Now today it is Talk about it Tuesday. You we gonna talk it out? Talk it out Tuesday with Tori and Miss Tanya. We got some things to talk about. Tori always have a good conversation, always, and she wanted to talk about uh, why showing up for our children matters. You know, the power of presence. And I said, yeah, that's a very good conversation. If you want to have resilient children, you want your kids to be resilient. There's some things you gotta do. So we're gonna talk about that. But before we get in the chat, before we get deep into the conversation, you know what we got to do? Yes, you know what we got to do. We need to do a little bit of breath work. All right. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. I don't want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your head pods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that you are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Doesn't that feel great? Feels real good. At least I feel good. For those of you who took that breath with me, just go ahead and shake it off. Shake it off. Feel a little relaxed. Relax your shoulders. You know, we get that little tensity right there, right in our shoulders, right in our neck. And we need to relax. All right, guys. The conversation today is Talk It Out Tuesday with Miss Tori. I'm going to go ahead and bring Tori into the stream. How you doing, Tori?
I am awesome and amazing on this beautiful Tuesday. What up, though?
You sound like you're from Detroit. What up, though?
I'm feeling amazing. That you have no idea how much that breathing exercise, how it relaxes your mind. Oh, I was a little stressed right before a few minutes prior, and now
Mhm.
I'm all relaxed.
All
I'm
right.
ready for. I'm ready. I'm ready for this
Well,
conversation.
I am too. I really am too, and I feel like you always have a good conversation. You always choose a good topic, and I'm willing to go wherever you want to go. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm easy. I like talking about some of everything, but you wanted to talk about showing up for our children, right? And that
Absolutely.
that that's important. It really is. I mean, showing up for them matters. It does. So I'll let you go ahead and start the conversation out and give me and give everybody an idea of why you chose this topic.
I chose this topic because it's so important for us to show up for our children on a daily basis, not just when they're doing well, but we also have to pour into them and encourage them when they're not doing so well. For example, let me give you a couple of examples. Like my son went through a little phase where he wasn't doing so well, and I just encourage him. Now, I will admit and be transparent. There was times where I would fuss, but then once I changed how I was, it changed talking to him as opposed to talking at him, there's a difference now. My son is a straight A student. So it matters when you show up to show up not only in their lives, but when they play sports, show up to their games, encourage them, even when they're feeling discouraged. It's very important for them to show up, for us to show up as parents. And then me, like we touched on this before, me being a single parent, I definitely got to show up to make sure my son is good. And you actually have a perfect example of what you did yesterday for showing up for your son, and I'm so proud of him.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Me too. It was really cool. I had to take the show on the road yesterday because it was my son's senior thesis, his art project, and yeah, I tell you what, I have no words. I still am kind of basking in the glow and don't really know how to explain my happiness and my pride, but more than that, I'm really happy for him. And, as a you know, we parent our kids, right? So we take
Right.
them through those ages and stages, and so where he is now and I get an opportunity to see him as a young man. You know that your kids are off in college and they're doing college things and doing what they're doing, and whether or not you went to college or you know anything about college life, college kids are gonna be college kids, you know what I mean? And they're supposed to be. But the important thing is that you have to, all the way up to college, you have to seal that bond. And you're able to do that by, like you said, showing up for them, right?
Right.
So I expected him to do well because he loves what he does. You know, he's an animator, he's been an artist just like forever. He knows that's who he knows himself to be. That's who I have to say I supported and allow him to go towards that. Smart guy, smart in any case. He could have gone anywhere that he wanted to go, but he chose an art path. So I had to support that. And I feel like by doing that, that was a way of showing up for him. Letting him know that I got your back, whatever it is that you want to do. I'm going to support that. And so when I saw him do his presentation, he up there in his little suit and tie and got up and spoke very well. I'm feeling like a mother. I'm like, wow, this guy, who is this guy? I just saw a man there. Like I didn't see my little boy. I remember my little boy, but I really saw a mature young man making a presentation, uh, and I was impressed.
Mm.
I was,
Did you capture any of those moments? Because I
of
wanted you to
course.
share some of the yeah, I wanted you to share some of the moments, because I was stalking your page because I was like, "I wanna see just a tad bit."
I did, but, my son is very you have to parent your kids different. I have a daughter and I have a son, actually. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people, they don't even know much. They know that I have a son, but you're not really gonna see much stuff on it because he's not into all of the shenanigans, the pictures, the
Yeah.
videos, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so because I know that's how he is, I'm not in his face as much, you know what I mean?
I
And
respect
funny you
that.
should say that because, I kinda, this is what I do. So I got cameras, I can go all out, cameras, lights, cameras, action, right? And
Yeah.
so I took my cameras. I had my cameras, I got tripods, all of this. So my daughter met me there and we were talking about it. And I'm like, so what you think? Should I go into the museum and stuff with my cameras? Or take a camera in there or just, do my iPhone because we know typically how her brother, my son, is. And she was like, uh, she's like, maybe she said, well, don't go too hard on him. Go ahead and go with your just take your iPhone. I was like, okay, well, I can capture some clips. I'll just make sure I capture a few things. And so that's what I did. And I was kind of like, of course, I'm just being present in the moment because that's very important as well.
Mhm.
Which was another reason why I kinda wanted to have a camera in there because I knew I could just set the camera up and let the camera do what it does, but when you have your camera phone, you kind of you got it in your hand, you're holding it up, and you're taking some moments, so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna be that parent, I'm not gonna be be overbearing. I'll just get a few clips and stay in the moment and watch," and that's what I did, and I'm glad that I did that because I was very present. He just drew me in, like, automatically, even when I, took some moments to capture a few pieces, a few clips. I noticed that I wasn't even looking at the screen. I just kinda had my phone there, but I was just tuned in on him.
All
Funny
right.
thing, so after, his presentation and we go out for lunch, and he asked me, "Did you capture it?" And I was like, "The whole thing?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "No." I said, "Because" I said, "I didn't do it because I didn't think you would want me to do that, so I just captured a few moments." And he was like, "The one time." So I was like, "Oh my gosh." For a moment, I felt really bad, and then I was like because I thought I had done the right thing because he always makes it seems like I'm overbearing.
Right.
But I'm overbearing with the cameras, like, he'll look at me like, "Okay, here she is with these doggone cameras in my face." So I didn't do it to him. He's like, "The one time." But, hey, I showed up. I was there.
Right. That is too funny. Like, the one time he wanted you to capture it, you didn't.
The one time. And all he had to do was say something because if he only had said something, girl, I would have been back to that car so fast and pulled my camera bag out the trunk. And
Yeah.
and then too, if I hadn't asked my daughter, I probably would have just done it anyway, but I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I do kinda, I don't wanna embarrass him." But
Yeah.
it was awesome. It was just awesome to see him in his, among his peer group, with his professors, just kind of in his space and what his life has been like the past couple years. Because when your kid is in college, they come home for the little breaks, and if they come home the weekends, that's really just a short visit. Their life is really that college life. But,
Right.
I was
Right.
proud mama all day. Proud mama all
That's
day.
that's awesome, and I'm glad you bring up the point of college because at this point, my son is, and I'm trying to get to that point where you are. My son is currently 17, and he's a junior in high school.
Mhm,
But I'm thinking he may not want to go, even though I'm encouraging him to go
mhm,
to college. He may not want to go to college. So I'm telling myself as well as I tell other parents, college isn't for everyone.
right.
And he
You've
may decide not to go. So I'm just, trying to I want parents to understand that a lot of times every child doesn't want to go to college and
right.
don't beat them up about it if they decide not to go to college.
Mhm,
But, I keep asking him because he's getting all these letters because his grades are so good, he's getting all these letters in the mail, and I keep asking him, "What college you" because they're coming from everywhere, and I'm like and he's looking at me like, I haven't quite decided yet." So I'm thinking
mhm.
I'm not sure if that's something that he wanted to do because I know when I was growing up, it was instilled in me, "You gotta go to college, you gotta go, you gotta do" because I think if I'm not mistaken, I was, like, one of the first to go to college
Okay.
in my family, so college isn't for everyone. So
Right,
I'm just trying to figure out if that's what he wants to do, but like I tell parents, it's like the topic of the day, show up for them. We have to
right.
nurture their dreams, whatever
Mhm,
it may be. It may not be college, it may be something else, but we have to
right.
nurture their dreams and don't shut them down.
I
But
agree
I
with
I
you.
just was so proud. I was like, "God," I wish you would have captured some because I was looking at I was like, "Dang, she didn't post nothing."
Oh, I definitely captured. I
Yeah,
captured a few
yeah, I
things,
was 'cause listen,
but,
I was looking at your page, I was like, Is there gonna be a picture or something?"
nope, I didn't put any online. I didn't put any online, and I'm not sure. that I will at this point. And when I got
Okay.
back, I've just got a ton of things to do in that respect. But no,
Okay.
but I want to follow a little bit with what you were saying about relating what you were talking about in terms of college is not for everything for uh
Everyone, yeah. Every
everyone,
student, yeah,
but
yeah.
still showing up for your kid.
Yes.
And what I'd like to say on that is, of course, you're absolutely right. It's not. But in showing up for them, and particularly as a single mother from my experience with
Mhm.
a son, they tend to be more protective of us than we really know because they're looking at everything that we're doing. They're watching those challenges and they may be quietly watching those challenges. And what I found is they also count your pocket. And by that, I mean, I think they make decisions based on what they think we can do. And so there was a point that I had to have this conversation with my son. I don't say that this is your particular experience, but I want to share mine because I'm sure I'm not the only single mother who has this experience. So what happens is when you're a single parent and a lot of the times if all of the financial decisions are made primarily by you, your kid knows that, and especially when they get up in age, when they start, being in high school, and they just know, they see it. It isn't something that has to be discussed, it isn't a conversation that you have, but they're living in the house with you, they know that you are footing the bills, and so you are doing that, and when it comes time for them to go to college, they start rethinking things because they're thinking about money. They're not telling us
Mhm.
that they're thinking that. They're just saying they haven't made a decision, and the reason why they haven't made a decision because they don't know how they're gonna do that. Because they may think or they may be counting your pockets and saying, "I don't know if my mom is gonna be able to handle this, and I know that I
Mhm.
can't handle this." So that happens. So the conversation for me came about, I said, "Well, son," I said, "there's several ways to do college, and you don't have." I said, "You are an artist, I support that, I see what you're doing. If you know what it is that you wanna do, you need to figure out a path towards that." I said, "And you don't have to do college the same way that everyone does it." I said, "If you like to think about it," I said, "take a gap year. Weigh your options." I said, "You can do technical college." I said, "The first 2 academic years of college, everywhere is pretty much the same. You're doing the same coursework. So if you were to decide that you wanna go to a technical college, you could do that, and then you can if you feel like you like it and that's the path you wanna choose towards a 4-year degree, then you can transfer to a 4-year college, and your credits will transfer. Make sure that you choose a path and make sure that the college that you are going to accept the credits from the technical college that you go to." So in our situation, my son did decide to take a gap year, and I think it was great for him, you know? He took the gap year, he looked up he decided what he wanted to do, his friends were in college, he was hearing about their experiences, and he decided that he wanted to, go to the technical college, which for me, I thought was smart. I got your back if that's what you wanna do. And it was
Right.
smart for him because in terms of finance, we all know that going to a technical college is not as expensive as going to the 4-year university.
Right.
So he was able to leverage his scholarship money from being a smart kid and getting the scholarships, and of course, obviously, the difference between his tuition at a technical college with his scholarships was paid for, so that means he was getting, uh, a refund, right? So
Right.
essentially, to make a long story short, he kinda got paid to go to the technical college. He got paid his first couple years, kept the grades up, made the dean's list, so you keep your scholarship, and your tuition is paid for, and all of the rest goes to you. Now and I told him and it was a pretty good sum of money, especially for a young man that age. Any I would have liked to have that money at my at my age.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was more than a lot of adults and families probably have in a savings, I'll say that. And
Yeah.
so I said to him, I said, "Now, uh, You have this refund, but this refund is not to have fun. I said, be sure of what you want to do with this money, because if your idea is to continue and go to the 4-year college, you're going to want to have some spending cash, and you want to be able to do what you want to do when you're at this 4-year university. And responsible kid decided to do what he want to do. I won't give too much detail, but you can kind of hear where I'm going with this story.
Right, right.
So he graduated from the technical college, transferred to a 4-year college, 2 years under the belt. So now he's only got 2 years of a higher tuition, maintain those grades, still getting those scholarships. So student loan is going to be less. And so he planned it out in a financial way, and I just had to have his back. I just had to present, okay, well, you can do this or you can do this. But I said, what I don't want you to do, and this is what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to look at and think about, this school costs this much and this costs this much, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, or if my mom is going to be able to swing it, or whatever the case may be. Because I will tell you this, go where you want to go, because the money is out there. If you're willing to do the work, you could do it. I took them to scholarship workshops. I said, this can be done. You have to apply for the scholarships. If you're going to apply, apply. Money is out here. So don't you decide that you don't want to go to college because money is out there. Get that out of your mind. If you want to do it, do it. Money is out there. And yes, some people take out student loans, but try to figure out a way that you could take out the least amount possible. And if that is the goal, then I feel like that is a worthy investment of yourself. Don't get caught up into everybody's stories of how miserable it can be to have student loans. Yes, it is miserable to be in debts, but figure out if you're really investing in yourself. Don't make that investment if you're not sure about what you want to do. If you're not
Right.
taking a course level that really makes sense for you. So that's what he had to do. I see Kevin Mullins has a comment here. What is he talking about?
Kevin Mullen says this refund is not to have fun. He praised it. Yes. That was a bar right there. This refund is
Well,
not to have fun.
listen, it's not. And I'll tell you a thing about my son. He's fiscally responsible. That boy, he'll make a dollar holler.
And that's good. That's great. And Genesis says, I agree that children consider the custodial parent and money. And you know what? I'm glad you started this conversation, Tanya, because I think that is where my son is at. Because even when we go places like he was like, and always like to pay for things because when he gets money, I like for him to save his money. And he was like, I got it. I was like, no, I got this. And then like say for example, if I come up short, always like if I run because I'm bad at carrying cash. And if he has cash, he'll pay the bill. Well, I'm gonna cash it back to you. He's like, no, you don't have to do that. So I think that it's great that you brought that up because I'm thinking that may be his mindset because I'm encouraging about the talking to him about scholarships as well. And even when I
Mhm.
was in college, I did work study as well
Right.
when I was in college. So I had the student loans, of course, but I also did the work study where I also received grants as well. So not
Right.
only, and I got a refund back as well, but yeah, our refund back then wasn't enough to do anything with. But like you said, you have to use the refund wisely because I
Mhm.
actually had a one of my roommates, she got back enough that she was able to get a car back
Yeah.
then. Yeah, she got a
That's
car back then.
okay.
So,
Well,
yeah,
that's
she
what
was
I'm telling
fine.
you. They're
Yeah,
getting
so
refunds that is car money, but it depends on how much your tuition is. So he went to a
yeah.
school, he knew how much money he was getting, and
Mhm.
he went to a school that he knew how much it would cost, so he'd already done the math. He knew what he was gonna get back. All right, how you doing, Shaquita?
Hey,
Good
Quita. And
afternoon.
Quita actually is has a her son is a senior at Wilson.
All right. Mama would be doing the same thing, having these same conversations as well. How you doing,
Hey,
Cynthia? Good
hey, yeah,
afternoon.
hey, Cynthia. Great afternoon to you as well. But yeah, I'm super excited about the future,
Yeah,
what the future holds. But I'm glad you brought that up. That just made me open my mind to some things that I wasn't even thinking about. But now that you say that, that's probably why he's a little hesitant when I ask him the
listen.
questions. What about college?
I have a son. These boys are protective of us. They really, really are. So I get it. You know, like I said, I've had the opportunity to have both experiences. And whether I had 2 boys or 2 girls, I just happen to have a son and a daughter. And, your kids are gonna be different. They're gonna be different, they're gonna think different, but that boy, I knew that he was watching, and he was watching pockets, because that's just
Right.
how he is. And I was like, "It's not up to you." I said, "You decide what you wanna do because money is out here, and I will show you how to get it.
Right.
So don't worry about it." And don't worry about what, like I said, you can't worry about the experiences of people who are drowning in their debts. They may not be responsible. When you decide to be responsible about your money, you can take loans, pay them, pay them
Right.
on time.
Right. 'Cause
You know?
I tell him all the time, "Do not be like your mother," because when I was in school, I was irresponsible because you know what,
Mhm.
now that I think about it, it did not make sense for them to have they had all these, people with these credit cards on a
Mhm.
campus knowing that we don't have any money. So guess what? We
Right.
signed up for these this is the thing, they would have, like, the free T-shirts, the like, give us, like, money, and, you know, to get us to sign up. But guess what? We
Right.
signed up for those cards, and I was one of those people, signed up for one of those cards, maybe a couple of them, and abused
Mhm.
them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Don't do that. Don't make better decisions than I did," because I it felt like when we obtained those credit cards, it felt like we had money. So I went on
Right.
shopping sprees. Now I went on the shopping spree. Let me tell you how backwards I was. I went on a shopping spree before I purchased my books. Make it make sense. Like, Tori did not make wise decisions. So
Wow.
I'm teaching him better. I had the clothes, but didn't have my books yet.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Make it make
listen,
sense.
it doesn't make sense. I can't make that make sense. But what I can make sense of that is we've had our experiences that we're able to offer them and show them a different path, and we're able to share our stories with them. Okay, well, this is what I did, but this is what I
Right,
can tell you that you should look towards. This is how you should handle this. You know,
right,
I don't say
right,
don't take the credit. Yes, have good credit. My kids do, but I taught them how to use credit responsible. And so
right,
that's what they do because they're out, they may be out of state, but then they may be near or far from you or whatever the case may be. And if it happens to be an emergency that they can handle themselves and they have their credit card, well, handle it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
Be
it's
responsible.
really about being responsible, allowing them to know that yes, people have abused these things. Maybe I have abused it, but I have learned and I had to course correct myself. So let me put you on this path right here, right now. This is how it can be done. This is how you can work it. Work this system. Don't allow it to work you. It's not bad. I don't even want them, and especially in today's time, you don't really need to be out here using your debit cards and things of that nature. Use your credit card. Use your credit card for
Right,
whatever you need to do through the month, and then pay it. And
right,
that's what they do. So, just putting them on a better path. I
right,
feel like some of those experiences that parents have experienced, that's why we have them. So share them. But allow them
right,
to know that you don't have to be fearful of it. I'm not gonna tell you, "Oh, no, don't get these credit cards. Don't" listen, build your credit. You need to. If your
right,
idea is to grow up and to have a home and to do different things, you need credit. Know how to spend your money and balance your money from now. I've got your back in the things that you wanna do, and so I gotta have your back in showing you how to be responsible with this money, be responsible with this credit. There are, cultures of people who do it. Why are they doing it? How are they doing it? This is
mhm,
how.
right. Thank you, Quita. She's talking about must be talking about Tonya dropping those nuggets. That's good. Yeah, she dropping some nuggets. Cause let me tell you something, when I learned about how the credit worked, trust me, I had to because let me tell you, when I was in college, I had to you know how I think the credit that bad credit history stays on your report for like 7 years. When I tell y'all I had to literally climb out the hole, I
Mhm.
mean, literally climb out the hole. And then once I learned how to build my credit, initially I started wrong because you know, like when you swipe the card, you know how you get obtain a bill I
Right.
learned that I was paying off the bill too soon. Like as soon as I get the bill, I'll immediately. That's like, no, 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 no. You don't pay it all that off at once. They said sometimes it's better to pay it in increments. So I'm still learning on some things, but I do not want my son to make the same mistakes that I made. And he's
Right.
very frugal like I am. So I think he'll manage his money way better than I did. But back then, no one told me
That's
these
it.
things. Yeah, I
No
didn't
one
know.
told us. And
Yeah.
and then you said something that was really key in the beginning. You said that you were one of the, first in your family to go to college. So, you were having experiences that no one was able to share with you. So, it was no one's fault and certainly not yours. So, you had to gain those experiences, and then you have something that you can share for the future generations and pass that down. They say, "When you learn better, you do better." And
Absolutely.
that's what we do. So in having their back, just things that are age appropriate when they're able to you're able to have those conversations with them, then you have those conversations with them. Um, I'll say this, I know for me and with both of my kids, I knew that showing up for them was very important, especially after I got divorced. Because I was married for 17 years, so that's a very long time to be in that unit of family, and then your family dynamic changed like that, you know?
Mhm.
So, they really grew up with their father in their life through their primary, through their, the little young years. They really grew up, and so they knew that. So, I knew that our family dynamics was changing, um, but I knew that I had to show up for them in a way that I'd always been there, as their mother, but I had to pay attention to letting them know that they were safe. I feel like that was a big thing, especially with my son. I felt like he needed to know that I had his back. And he had to
Mm,
know that I had his back at the same time while I was allowing him to discover who he was or who he felt like he was choosing to become.
mm,
Because you can't really be, demanding on your kids, particularly in that little, in the preteen and teenage age bracket where they're really trying to find themselves and discover themselves. They wanna kind of feel their independence, and it's important for us to respect that, You've gotta allow them to make decisions. You've gotta allow them to, kinda have you gotta help them build that self-esteem and maintain some type of self-esteem so that they can have confidence. So I just was very aware of that. So while I was staying involved, I tried not to be too pushy or too in their face, but certainly there were decisions that I knew that I had to make because they were just not at an age of understanding to make those type of decisions. So, like, we could have a conversation, but ultimately at certain points, like, the decision was going to be my decision, but I was gonna tell them why. So whether they liked it or not, I had to let them know why I was making that decision, and that's how we kind of grew through that period of, okay, well, this is what our family is now, and this is how we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna be okay. So, you dig what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that because a lot of times we as parents, we'll tell because I know we both grew up in the era where it's because I said so. Don't what how they said it, "Don't do as I say, don't do as I do
Do
as I say." But
right.
I'm glad that both of us explain things to our children. We tell them why we make certain decisions. We allow them to express themselves, but we also if our decision, the decision that we make for them, sometimes in some cases don't align with what they want, we
Right.
explain to them why we made this decision. We're doing what is best for you. You may not see it now, but you will appreciate it later. Kevin Mullen says showing up for your child can also mean relinquishing small pockets of responsibility so that you can develop them at younger age for adulthood, staying ahead of the curve. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
And
I agree.
Michelle says, go ahead. I'm sorry. Michelle says, great advice, ladies. And go ahead and react. And you was going to say something else to what Kevin said. I apologize.
No, what I agree with that, You've gotta allow them to have those small little pockets of responsibility, let them make some certain decisions, and also, equally as important, and particularly when we're getting into the later teenage and the young adult ages,
Mhm.
you gotta let them make some decision that you quite honestly know are gonna fail.
Listen,
Like, you know
Tonya,
that
that
they are
is
gonna
so
fall on
hard.
their face,
Ooh.
that they are gonna crash,
Right.
but I can't tell you, and I
Ooh.
can't give you the valuable lesson that this fail is get ready to provide for you. Because I probably told because if I'm allowing you to fall on your face, we
Yes.
have approached a subject that I have talked to you about already. You didn't
Yes.
agree with my my decision, and that's
Mm,
okay, right?
mm,
So,
right.
the seed is already planted. You already know the right things to do. You know right from wrong. So, number 1, you know right from wrong. So, when you
Mm,
make that decision, whether you know that you're making this decision that's wrong or whether you feel like it's right, whatever the case may be, the ultimate thing is you know right from wrong. Imma let you go ahead and fall on your face because you need this. Mama can't tell you. I can't give you this. I nothing. The way this great fail, let's get ready to make a positive impact in your life. And then you're gonna
listen.
think back on it and you be like, "Oh, that's what mama was talking about."
Right. Right. And I see
That's what
Jamil. Go ahead. I see Jamil said I was just saying hello to him. You said, "Go ahead, Tonya, I'm sorry."
No, I mean, and we all do that. We do that. I do that to this day sometimes. I still remember this some of the things. Like, when you get ready to do something and you could like hear your mama voice
What
in
you
your
talking about? But that's what I was gonna
you
say, that was hard. That was very hard for me to do. Like, if I knew a decision that my son made was gonna fail, oh my god, it was hard for me to watch him fail. But I had to watch him fail, and there were just some decisions that he made, and he came back and was like, "You were right." He said, "I will admit you were right." And I'm just looking, I'm not one of those parents gonna say, "I told you so," but I was like, "Yeah, I was just trying to tell you." He said, "Well, you were
Mhm,
right." He said, "What the advice you gave me was right. And now that I see that I was wrong." So I'm so glad that we're able to have a great conversation now, where at one point younger, when he was acting out, we didn't talk. But I'm so glad and grateful that we're able to talk and communicate nowadays. It means so, because we have to fail. A lot of times we have to fail in order to succeed, because we got to see what works and what didn't
mhm.
work in order for us to
Yeah,
know what the better to do the next time. But that was
but
one of the hardest things I had to do, to allow him to fail. And I
well,
still
guess what?
struggle sometimes.
I was about to say that. That is never over. I mean, we can't look at social media and look at, what quite literally are our highlight reels and think that life is just those highlights. There's a lot of things that are going on the flip side of those things. There's a path to those highlights, and the path to those highlights aren't always easy. It's not smooth sailing. It isn't. Um, and I heard you say there was a period of time that you weren't talking, and I know this from being a parent that, uh, communication get like that when young people are trying to discover themselves. They wanna find themselves. They're trying to find their voice. They're trying to separate themselves from who mama is and more like who am I? And it's tough, but it's necessary because to be honest, like, my son and I can have disagreements, and we do. And we have. And the older that he's gotten, of course, our communication is better and we have, better conversations and better disagreements, but nonetheless, we have them. Sometimes they have been heated, but we have them. And I don't always wanna just, like, shut them down because I have to think about as a woman, I don't wanna teach my son to be broken down by a woman or to be
Right.
disrespected by a woman, so I want him to very much have his voice and stand in his voice, so if we are having a disagreement, I want him to disagree with me, 'cause I
That's
wanna see how he's
good.
showing up for himself. I wanna see how he's standing up for himself. How is he, navigating a disagreement with someone? and particularly with a woman. I need to see that.
That is
Not from
so
me, but
good.
for him to be able to feel that. So, that's just how that is, and it's different for a girl. I mean, we like to say think that, we treat our kids equal. We don't. My daughter and I don't disagree the same way that my son and I do. We just don't. We have a different communication. In fact, we don't communicate at all the same.
Really?
We don't. But
Oh,
we
man.
love each other. I mean, I love them both dearly. I do
Yeah.
not love them the same. I can't say that I love them equally or unequally. I have a loving relationship with them separately, and we
Yeah.
have a loving relationship together as a family. But just to go back to the son piece, I really like. At first, I was kind of taken aback when he kind of was kind of arguing back with me one time, and it kind of threw me. I'm like, whoa, seemed like son getting a little bass in his voice. Where is he going with that? And I'm not
Oh.
an easy lady, not at all. To grow If you grow up with me, like you grew up. I'll say that. I'm not
Ooh.
easy. I'm not
Yeah.
easy. I don't pretend to be easy, but
Right.
I'm fair.
Right.
You understand
Mhm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do listen. And if we go back to that times of those disagreements, I just knew like, hey, I'm not trying to raise a guy who's getting ready to be a sucker for some woman who can talk to him any type of way, who can just shut him down. He just has to listen. No, that's not what I'm doing. The same way
Mm.
that I'm not raising a young man to be disrespectful to a woman. I want you to be able to get your point across. I want you to stand in your conviction if that is very much what you believe. But you got to know that if we're going to have this little disagreement here, you get to voice what you're going to voice, and then you're going to have to listen to me too. And so
Mm.
that's kind of where we are, and that's how we do things. So it's great. We have a really good relationship, and I know that I'm blessed, and I feel the blessing.
Man, that is really good. That is really good that you say that. You pay attention because you don't want a woman to shut him down. Because I will tell you, when I was growing up, their ages, especially my son, age 17, and if I could just talk over you or just and you didn't stand up for yourself, I lost respect for you. As a boy, I'm like, so you gonna allow me to talk to you like that? Like you gonna allow me to run over
Right,
you like that? So I'm like,
right,
okay, I can't talk to you. You don't even have a backbone. I can't talk
right.
to you.
Because I mean, it's just a natural thing. Women are going to be attracted to a protector,
Yeah.
and a provider, you know? So just paying attention to those things at the appropriate ages and stages, there's just different ways of communicating with your kids. And you know when they're ready for certain things you're not going to discuss with them. And like I said, there were times when the decision was mine. It wasn't so much like I very much came from an environment of, okay, well, you get ready to do this because I said so. And
Right.
I've had some "I said so" moments. But like I
Mhm.
said, in those "I said so" moments, I will still tell you why. I will tell you why, but you're still not making this decision. I'm making this decision because of XYZ, because I'm in the
Right.
position of looking at this, further down the road because I have been here. I know the result of this. You don't understand it now. I hate that your feelings are hurt, but you're just gonna have to get over it. Yes, but those are in younger years. Those are not gonna be in you know young adult life. See, I have young adults now, so I'm not so much in the kid things. I'm just trying to allow myself to remember some of this stuff. But
And that was
that's
one of that was one of the questions I was gonna ask because, of course, my son is 17. He's still a junior in high school. A lot of times I hear people say that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. How is it? Because I hear people say all the time, you worry more about your children when they become adults than you do. Of course, my son is in the house with me, but how was that adjustment? Because I already know I'm probably gonna I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a time when my son leaves me because it's been me and him his entire life. So how did you make that adjustment? Because you have two young adults. How did you make that adjustment from letting them, lead spread their wings and allowing yourself not to worry about them as much? Because of course they're going to be making more decisions on their own, and there may be some decisions that they make that you have no knowledge about.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay. Um, I wanna say first, I want you guys to tap in where you're from. Tap in where you're from. I wanna thank you for joining the conversation. We're talking about showing up for our kids and some of the ways that we can show up for them, especially if you want to have an impact on their life and you want them to be resilient, okay? Showing up for your children matter. It impacts the development of their resilience. And that's why we're just kind of talking some of our personal decisions, but you get to join the chat too. So go ahead, and if you have some experiences or some things that you want to share with us, put it in the chat and we will definitely be having a conversation, and we'll put you up on the screen. But to answer your question here, Tori, no, I didn't worry about them more when they left, and I'll tell you why. It's that thing that I told you. You know right from wrong. That's the first thing. Oh, you know what makes you not feel good. Listen and pay attention to your gut. If something doesn't feel right to you, then it's not right. So you get yourself into a safe environment. And that's male or female. That has no gender for me. You need to listen to your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's because you are not safe. And that could be for any reason. So make sure that you're paying attention to your surrounding. I always say this: when you cross that threshold, when you walk through that door, when you walk out that door to go anywhere that you go, I'm not worried because I know you were raised. Don't you go out here and you let somebody else raise you. You've been raised. Don't make them change your values. And so I don't worry. Now, when they call, I know that I'm there. They have a certain level of financial responsibility. So I know that you have the things that you need if there is a particular emergency, and I know how to get things to you if there is a particular emergency. You dig what I'm saying? So no, I didn't have
Right.
those worries. And I was young. I'm not far removed from the memory of what it was like to experience college life and quote unquote feeling like I was on my own. Yes, I did lots of things that my mother didn't know, that she still doesn't know. And I expect my kids to do the same thing, and I know that they have. That does not worry me.
Oh
The reason
goodness.
it does not worry me, because in the same breath of remembering myself, my mother raised me. My mother
Right.
trusted me. She trusted that I would make good decisions for myself. And ultimately, at the core of me, I did. Did I do foolishness? Yes, that's what young people do. We do
Mhm.
that, right?
Mhm.
But my core, because I knew right from wrong, because I was raised, anything that happened that turned out to be an emergency or any type of accident, that's just what it was. So, no, I have lost no sleep over those things. My kids know that they can call me if they need me, and they have been built to know how to take care of themselves. I couldn't even
Mm.
tell you the last time that I've had to financially do anything for my kids.
Wow.
Serious.
That's awesome. Hey Veronica, what's up?
Hey, Veronica, glad to have you here in the conversation. Yeah, but listen, time things change. We go through different periods of needs and changes in our lives. You know,
Yeah.
just like for me in particular, if we're talking about showing up for our children, I can speak from the position of being a child, it, the position of being an adult child. How
Mm.
my family, how my mom showed up for me and had my back in my life as an adult, because
Yeah.
I did go through a divorce and a broken home, but she was there. She was there for me, which ultimately helped me better raise my kids. So, like, I never I never really feel like I've been a single mother. For me, saying that, You often know that I don't even feel comfortable saying that I was a single mother. It doesn't roll off of my tongue very well because I
Yeah.
haven't done anything by myself.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, even at my son's presentation, senior presentation on yesterday, a couple of his professors came up to me, male as well, who was like, "Mom, great job. Solid young man." Right?
Yeah.
And I can take that in. I don't really take too well when people tell me that I'm a good mom, and it doesn't really matter to me. I can hear it. I hear the words. I know what they mean. I know they mean well, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And I'll tell you why. Because the only people who can tell me that I am a good mother are my children. And I'm not going to
Mm.
take full responsibility for raising them because I had people around me. Even
Right.
my grandmother, who has since passed, my grandmother was there. There was just they had my back.
Right.
They allowed me to have this comeback. They allowed me to be resilient. That's why it's important to show up for your kids. So my mom showed up for me as a
Right.
grown ass woman with kids, and she
Yeah.
didn't have to.
Yeah. And I could say the same. My mom showed up for me as well. Cause she's listening. If I need something, you'll be all right, Tori. But if my son needs something, he can have
Listen.
whatever he wants. She could show up, and I think back early on in his early when he was growing up as a child, when I had to work long hours, my mom would be the one. I used to feel so bad, like I would miss like some of his early programs in kindergarten. I would have to miss a lot of those programs because I had to work and I was working long hours. My mom would be the one that had to take him to the doctor, and the doctor, because when I remember I took my son to doctors some years later, he was like, so who are you? I'm his mother. He's like, oh, I never really seen you. Like, listen, sir, I had to work.
Well, I know that didn't feel too good.
No, not at all.
But listen, we can't be that hard on ourselves. It takes
Yeah.
a whole village. Listen to me,
Yeah.
a whole village, because we get
Yeah.
that proverb wrong. You leave out whole. And
Mhm.
one word makes a very significant difference. People are very quick to say it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah, 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 yeah. It takes a
Mhm.
whole village to raise a child. You need to be whole. You need to be whole. You hear what I'm saying? And it
Right.
takes the whole village. It's not going to be you, even with the father in a young person's life, even in a
Mhm.
married couple's life. You still need the whole village. It's not just going to be you because your child is going to need something outside of what you can provide. Just like you say, that work component. It might be
Mhm.
somebody, what if both parents work? Grandma, auntie, someone might have to fill in, some
Mhm.
caregiver, all of those people are a part of that village. And we've got to recognize that. Your neighbor might just be watching out and making sure, okay, well, your kid got an out. What you doing outside? What you understand what I'm saying? So it takes that whole village. I can't take the credit. I dig
Mhm.
what it is. I understand it, but it wasn't just me. But I loved them all the way to whatever accomplishments that they have made. Like I make a joke with them sometimes. Like if they do something crazy, I'm like, you ain't get that from me. You get it from your daddy. But it really is a joke, and they know that it is a joke. And so
Yeah.
when they do something good, I'm like, "Mhm, yeah, that's because of your mama." So it's just a little fun thing, but it takes the whole village. You gotta be able to, and even if you notice a quality that your kid has, and
Mhm.
you know that that particular quality came from your father, it's okay to share that with them because you don't
Mm.
have 100% all good qualities. There's some things
Mhm.
that there's ways about yourself that you don't want them to be like. So share that, but like, you know what? That was one of the things that I really liked about your father. He was really self-motivated and self-driven, and you've got that in you. I like that. I admire that. Allow them to hear
Yeah.
that because they had just
Yeah.
because the relationship doesn't exist anymore or that it's broken in some type of way, there had to be something that was good. There had to be some type of attraction to, to get where you are, so share that with them. I don't think women
Yeah,
should be holding on to bitterness. You gotta show up for your kids. And if you're a single mother, if you're a married couple, whatever the case may be, it's the whole village. It's the whole village.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to encourage because my son is probably listening. I'm grateful that I have a child that talks to me. But like we were saying earlier, just make sure kids, make sure you're talking to your parents about things, even those difficult conversations. Have those conversations. Talk to them about every. I tell my son, "What do you think I'm going to get upset or not?" Still talk to me about it, and I think it's very important to have that open line of communication because back time when we were growing up, the world back then wasn't as cruel, I feel, as it is today. Because let me make y'all laugh. Let me just make y'all laugh. Back then, I was so excited because everybody's talking about this documentary that's coming out with Freak Nick, right? So
Freaknik.
listen,
That
I
was in
went
my era.
listen, I went twice.
Ooh.
I went at the age of 18 and I went at 20. And I remember when I was 18, I remember calling my mom. And mind you, I didn't tell my mom that I was in Atlanta. I
Mhm.
called my mom. I was so excited. Oh, guess who I met? I met Keith Sweat. My mom was like, Keith Sweat in Charleston? And I'm like, oh. She said, he in Charleston? I'm like, then I done told on myself. Like,
Right.
no, ma'am. Well, where he at if he's not in Charleston? Because I went to the College of Charleston. Well, where is he if he didn't go to if he's not in, I'm like, he in Atlanta. So if he in Atlanta, how you seeing him? So that means you in Atlanta.
Girl,
And that was I opened it. I was like, oh Lord, I done told on myself.
listen, I know I know many people who are very nervous about the upcoming things that will be exposed. But here's what I wanna say about that.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a big deal. Listen,
it's not.
that is that is what was happening, that was what was going on. You went out there, you had fun. If you made it
Yeah,
back and you had good fun and you had big fun, cool.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is. But I wanna go back to, you saying, when your mother took your son to the doctor and things like that. I wanted to talk
Mhm,
about that as well as I wanted to say, like, you were saying your son talks to you about everything.
mhm,
Now, here's the thing. I do think communication is important. And whether or not they talk to me about everything is not so much the issue with me. I just want them to
mhm.
know that they can talk to someone. And so
Right.
that's where the village is important. So I also made sure that there were people around me that I knew that they could equally talk to. And I
Mhm,
would say, okay, I realize, they're going through XYZ, you know, talk to them a little bit about it and see where their head is at, to
mhm,
keep me out of the conversation. And I didn't want them to report back to me. I just needed them to be able to have someone trusting that they could communicate with and have that conversation because they're not going to want to tell me everything. I didn't want to tell my mother everything. No one is going to tell their mother everything, but I wanted to make sure that I had key people around them that if they needed to talk about something, that those persons were there. So it doesn't have to be me. And I told them that as well. I said, listen, if there's some things that you need to talk about and you feel like I'm not the best person to talk to about it, well, you can talk to your uncle here. You can talk to your aunt here. Or you can talk to your grandmother here, whoever that person is. And I
mhm,
also, for my son, I sought male mentors, like men in the community who I know, who I trusted, who I felt like could have a good conversation with him, that I wanted him to meet and see what they do, where they work, how they work, and let them have their own like, what they talked about, like, I couldn't tell you. I never wanted to know. I just wanted him to see who I felt were upstanding men in the community who I respected, and he needed to see that at certain points and certain ages, and there are men in our community who know my son because they were a part of that village for me. You dig what I'm saying? And they need to
Absolutely.
have and again, I think this is something that they could have even when and if their father is involved because it takes a village. Stop thinking that it's just gonna be you and the father. That's not having your kids back. Having your kids back is knowing that you've got people around you, surrounding you and them to help raise this
Mhm.
kid.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Matter of fact, I have one of the father figures from church that's picking up my son today, and I'm grateful because it does take a village and it
Right,
means a lot. And I'm truly grateful. And it makes a difference because,
right.
like you said, they're going to have certain conversations with them that I know nothing about. And I wouldn't dare ask, what do you
Mhm.
know? I'm not one of those overbearing parents. What do you talk about? I'm not like that because I do believe that's just like I tell my son all the time certain conversations you don't want to have with me. But just make
Right,
sure that you reach out to someone that you feel comfortable sharing or talking to. Because of course, he's at that age. He got his eye on little girls and stuff, and
right.
certain conversations. He's like, I can't talk to you about that. I'm
Right.
like,
At least not in certain details. I mean, there's basic conversations
yes,
you can have. So
yeah,
I agree with you. And that's just letting them know you have their back. Fight for them. They gotta know that you're gonna stand up for them. I know that we have this conversation has gone by so very quickly. I try not to take up too much people's time. I usually wanna stay within that hour pocket there. So I know that there's more that we could talk about, but I do wanna say this. Um When it comes to talking with your kids, yeah, talk to them. Let them know that other people are out there. The number one thing when you're going through the different ages and stages, in particular when they're younger, is getting them to let you know when they're not safe. When you can get through that piece, I feel like it's a lot easier because that takes worry off. You know that they're going to talk to you about that. That's one of the bigger things. If you can do that, you've gotten somewhere. Um, like I said, in terms of them telling you everything when they're young adult, get over that. That's not happening. You didn't do it. And does that really make sense? I just want you to know that I'm here when you need me. I want you to know that I'm gonna fight for you. My son had a teacher who was very respectful, and my kid's a pretty good kid. Do I think kids are perfect? No. I know kids are gonna do things that we might not think they're gonna do. So I'm
right.
not even going even my kid, I'm not even gonna listen to my kid first. I'm gonna listen to what the teacher says. I'm gonna listen to what my son is saying, and you pay attention to their emotions. Listen to your kid. When I say listen to your kid, I don't mean just listen to the words that they're coming out of their mouth. Listen to their body language. Listen to their
Mm,
mood. Listen to their attitude. You can see when something is going on. They don't have to tell you in words. You know this because you are listening. You're paying attention. So I had to get a teacher in check, right? So,
mhm.
they set up this meeting and we go in there and, I'm not a rah-rah person. You're not get ready to that's just not my nature anyway, but I am a stand-up person. I am gonna speak my mind. So I get in there and I'd already my son just pretty much told me what he felt was disrespectful. So I went with that and then I wanted to see the teacher and how she was gonna have this conversation with me. So I didn't go in there, huffing and puffing. I need to let her talk. So I did. And this lady got on my nerves, you understand me? So I had to give her a little piece of the mind and a little piece of the filth, flooring, filth, flooring, filth. And so my son knew that I had his back and his eyes was like, "Whoa." Because see, he didn't know I was gonna go first of all, I didn't know I was gonna go there. Cause see, I allow her to think that I was on her side. "Girl, you have made a error in judgment. I am listening to you, and you are not doing the right thing."
Oh
So I
gosh.
let her
Yeah.
know, and I let her know right in front of him. And I never had a good relationship with her, and I never tried to have a good relationship with her, and I took my kid out of the class and everything. No, my son needed to know that I had his back, and he needed to know that then because, like I said, he's coming into that young adult, uh, age, and he didn't have the father in the home, so he's gotta feel protected. He's got to know that I got you. Now you can't be out here acting a fool, and he wasn't. He
Right.
might be doing some young boy things, but the way this teacher's response was, I didn't like it, and I let her know, and that also let him know that okay, I'm safe. I can be me. I'm all right, and
Yeah,
that's what it was.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, lady,
Oh, this time went by fast. Jeez,
we had a
time went
whole
by.
convers.
Oh, this was good though. So I'm gonna
It
just say
was.
my goodbyes because we're about to breathe it on out. So this has been a great Talk It Out Tuesday with Tori and Tanya, Tanya and Tori, however you want to say it. This has been wonderful. Thank you everyone that joined in. Now I got to think of what we're gonna talk about next Tuesday. But make sure you join Tanya on tomorrow. Wednesday. What is Wednesday? Is it Wellness Wednesday on tomorrow? Nonetheless, make sure you join her tomorrow at noon for the Noonday Podcast. This is what relaxes me. This is what gets me through the day. And Lisa, I see you commenting. Great conversation. Great convo, lady. Thank you so much, Miss Lisa, for pointing that out. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot to us, but I'm gonna back it on out so we can breathe on out. Peace out,
Yeah, yeah,
y'all.
yeah. All right, lady. I appreciate you as always. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Lisa. That's my cousin, y'all. That's my cousin. Good people in the building. And you know how we do it. We had to let you guys know that the power of conversation, just having a conversation, if it's one person that you're having a conversation with, if you're listening to a good conversation, there's much, much to learn. So that's why we need to have conversations, you know? If you are listening to this podcast, you're listening to it because you know the conversation is important. We're not here for people who have the short attention span, for people who are not willing to go a little bit further. The conversation doesn't always have to be heavy, it could be light, but there's always something to learn if you're always willing to listen. So we talked about the importance of showing up for our kids, giving them our full attention is very important. Being an active listener, knowing that you can't just listen to the words that are coming out of their mouth. You've got to really be paying attention to them, their body language, their mood, their attitude. You know it, right? Establish those one on one connections. Spend that quality time with them doing things that they have interest in, not everything that you want to do. Those type of activities and hobbies that they like. Play some video games with them. If you don't even know what it is. You know how many times I played Mario Brothers? I don't like Mario Brothers. You know how many times I've sat in movies of Spider-Man and superhero movies? I don't like them. Those were some of the best naps I ever had in my life, and I just make sure I wake up just enough so that I can remember something, and when they're having a conversation, I can be like, "Yeah," you know? Just things that you've gotta do for them. Show up for them. All right? Well, I thank you guys for listening in. This is a podcast that you get to get in the chat, share with us. I'll be talking to you again on Talk It Out Tuesday, Tori. We always have a good conversation. Tomorrow is Wellness Wednesday. But right now, what we're going to do is what we always do. We bring this thing in with a little breathing work, a little breath work, and we're going to take it out with a little breath work. I hope you're ready for it. Let's do some breath work. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold a few seconds. Exhale. And hold that a few seconds. Inhale one more time. Hold a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. And don't you feel great? I feel great. I appreciate you guys. And if nobody gave you a smile today, if nobody smiled today, you just close your eyes and give yourself a big smile and see how that feels for you. All right? Y'all be great out here. It's what we do. One love, y'all.